Engineering drawings in Creo 2.0. This video will concentrate on drawing the format for an engineering drawing. The format is the outside border plus the cells for the title block. We will then do a second video that will show you how to put the text into the title block and also import your logo. Start by going to New, select Format, name it. I'm going to name this one AUEA A3. Remember to use an underscore for the spaces. Say OK to it. I want the page to be empty, landscape, and change the page size to the A3. Say OK. First I'm going to draw the outside border, and I'm going to draw this as a sketch, but I need to change some of these settings first. Select the Sketch tab, select Draft Grid, select Show Grid, select Grid Params, select X and Y spacing, type 5 and enter. You should now be able to see the grid with the 5mm spacing in the X and Y. Select Done Return, select Done Return again. I now want the lines that I draw to snap to the grid. To do this, select Sketcher Preferences, in the box select Horizontal and Vertical, because all my lines in this case will be horizontal or vertical. Select Grid Intersection. Say Close. It's now going to draw the outside border of the page. Go to the Line command, select it. You should now see the cursor hops to the grid settings. We can close the snapping reference box and come and start to draw our rectangle. Bring the cursor down so it sits 2 grid spacings up from the bottom and 2 grid spacings in from the left. Left click once to start the line. Bring the cursor across. Make sure it's horizontal and 2 grid spacings from the right hand edge. Left click again. Whereas this is different to using the normal line command in Sketcher, left clicking just completes the line and doesn't restart the next part of the line. Bring the cursor back over the endpoint, left click again. Bring the cursor up. This time it will stop 2.5 grid spacings from the top of the page. Left click again. This completes the line. Left click again to start the next line. Come across. Let it snap to being 2 grid spacings from the left hand edge. Left click again to finish the line. Left click again to start the line. Bring the cursor down and let it snap to your original start point. Left click to complete the rectangle. Middle mouse will cancel the line command and left click in space to deselect it. I'm now going to go and draw the cells for the title block. But before I do that, I want to go and change the grid spacings. Go back to the Draft Grid command. Select Grid Params. Select Y spacing. Change this to 2. Enter. Left click, done, return. Left click, done, return. The grid can look quite confusing like this, but bring the cursor down towards the bottom left hand corner and roll the mouse backwards so it zooms in, and you can now see that we have changed the grid spacing. All the cells in the table that we are going to create are divisible by 5 in the X direction and divisible by 2 in the Y direction. Go to the top of the page and select the Tables tab. Select the Tables icon. Come down, select Insert Table. I want the cell of my table to start from the bottom right hand corner. Select this icon. The way this title block is designed, I want the number of columns and the number of rows to be 1. I want the height of the first box to be 12. I want the width to be 75. Say OK. I can now bring the cursor down and it will locate on top of the grid spacings to the bottom right hand corner. Left click to position it and then move the cursor into space and left click again to deselect it. If you then right click and hold, select Create Table, the Insert Table box opens again. Remembers the settings, and I want to change the width of this cell to be 40. Say OK to it. Bring it down so it locates over the end of the first cell. Left click again to position it. Left click in space to deselect it. Right click and hold, Create Table. This box, I'm going to change the height to be 6 and change the width to be 75 again. Say OK and position it directly on top of the first box. Click away in space, right click and hold, Create Table. Change the width to be 40. Position it again over the top of the second box. Left click away in space to deselect it. Right click and hold, Create Table. This time I'm going to do a different table. I want it to have 3 columns and 3 rows. I want the height of the columns to be 8 and the width of the columns to be 25. Say OK. Bring the cursor down till it locates on top of the box and left click again to position it. Left click away in space to deselect it. Let's go and create another cell. Right click and hold, Create Table. Change it back to 1 and 1. The height can remain at 8 and the width 75. Say OK and position it as shown. Click away to deselect it. Right click and hold, Create Table. Select the height of the next box to be 32 and the width to be 40. Say OK and position as shown. Click away in space to deselect it. Right click and hold, Create Table. Select the height, tell it to be 15. Change the width to be 115. Say OK and position it as shown. Click away to deselect it. To pan the page across the screen, move the cursor into space, press and hold the wheel and physically move the mouse. This will pan across the page just a short distance. Release the middle mouse. Right click and hold, create table. Change the height to be 32. Change the width to be 60. Position as shown. Click away to deselect. Right click and hold, create table. Set the height to be 17 this time. Select the width, make it 55. Say OK. Position as shown. Click away to deselect. Right click and hold, create table. The last cell is going to be 18 tall. And 30 wide. Position as shown. Left click away in space to deselect it. Now refit to page. This is the basis of the format that we are creating. In the next video we will populate the cells that we have just created with text and a logo. All we need to do now is save the format. Go to save. Go to your shared area. I'm going to save this one onto the desktop. You must save it into the shared area. Say OK. This completes this video.